Alright, welcome back everybody to the channel 4 months later, and the K-swap is still, giving me problems. So I figured I'd do my best to kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown on what's going on and why we're here and why I haven't been posting. But I will tell you guys one thing that I have been working on for a while, and that's fixing this stupid battery voltage problem that I have. So the last video I made 4 months ago was about the issues that I was having, getting the K-swap running properly and everything. So I got all that dialed out. That's all fine. But I mentioned in the video I was having an issue with my battery voltage, and I had no idea how to figure out this problem. So I'm going to explain everything in this video as best as I can, as quickly as I can, so that way you guys can use this video as a tool to help you in the future if you plan on doing a K-swap, or if you're doing a K-swap right now and you need help like right now ASAP, instead of searching through thousands of forums. So the problem that I'm having is my battery voltage is oscillating like up and down, up and down, up and down between I want to say like 12 something volts to all the way to 14 volts. I hit the forums, k28.org. I started typing in battery voltage fluctuation, K-Pro, Honda, K28, blah, blah, blah. And one forum popped up. One guy's like, oh, I just disconnected my O2 sensor, my primary O2 sensor, and then I just had consistent flat 14 volts. So I did the same thing. I unplugged my primary O2 sensor, I turned on K-Pro, turned on the car, and sure enough, that's my issue right there. Alright, so this is kind of hard to see, so I want to try to zoom in as best as possible. So I'm using the radio fuse. If you pull off this little panel right here, and it runs all the way under here, it's basically the yellow wire that you see. It runs from over here, from the fuse panel, all the way under, through here, and it runs to the 30 amp spot. It's just the yellow wire on here that I connected it to, and then the other piece is like capped off somewhere back there that goes back to the C101 harness, so you don't really need that anymore, and this should stop your problem, honestly. Today's video is going to be me trying to change these fenders up because I destroyed these fenders, right? So we're going to try to put some fender cuts on. I rolled the fenders a while ago, but it looks terrible. It looks horrible. So we're going to try to put some fender cuts on, and if it even looks even worse, maybe we're just going to put some fender flares on. So let's see how today goes. I got some eBay fender flares, or not fender flares, eBay fender cuts in the car right here, and all my tools. So we're going to head on off to the hobby shop and get started and see what happens. Okay, so now we're at the hobby shop. I'm just speeding things up right now because, this is pretty self-explanatory. Just removing the fender. And honestly, it's pretty much the same as removing a USDM fender, but I will say it's a little bit more work than the USDM fender.
Dang.
There we go. Hey, dude.
Alright.
My legs are like tingling.
Carnage begins. Just gonna attach some screws right here.
That's stupid. Oh, this is all stupid. Everything is done. Okay, so these eBay fenders I got, I'll probably post a link or a picture up right now of where exactly I got them from. And honestly, they were really easy to work with. They were actually really cheap, and they were able to flex pretty well, and the fitment was actually really good. I have no complaints. And to some of you that are probably going to say, oh, why didn't you just support the Track Life guy who invented these? Well, actually, I tried to. I tried to get a one-piece set from him, but we had a bit of an issue with that. So I ended up just getting eBay fenders because it was the cheapest thing to get out here to Japan. So that's pretty much why I went this route. And right now, I'm just drilling 2 holes for the fender cut. And I just used this step drill bit because it's honestly the easiest thing to cut with. And I actually used the wrong drill bit initially, so I'm glad I have my step drill bit on standby. And then I just mocked it up. But I also ran into a problem because, as you can see, I'm not using a rivet gun like most people do. I had to do like some weird makeshift thing that I found on YouTube that you can do to put in these rivet nut screws into like metal, and it actually worked out pretty well. I'm really glad I found out how to do this. Otherwise, I would have been driving around with no fenders. So as you can see, it's really easy for me to just crank down and just put the rivet nuts in. So honestly, I'm not mad. It was really easy to actually install this whole thing.
how does this?
M6 bolt, washer, nut, 2 washers on top. Oh wait. 10 millimeter.
Oh, you gotta sandwich it first.
Yep, got a
Okay.
washer right in there. 2 washers on top, and then you just start cranking.
Alrighty.
It goes right up. Crazy.
Or you could just get yourself an insert gun, which he has, but Amazon has failed him.
Again.
Yeah. Oh well. He has it in there. I have no idea if that gap is what it is. So I guess it goes somewhere over here, and then he's just gonna zippity-doo-dah with the thing. He's just gonna cut those fenders. What? Oh, he broke his fender. Oh yeah, he's just gonna line it up down over here. Yep. Dude, that went it so smooth. I don't know what happened to the other side.
Alright, and here is the finished product. I don't know about you guys, but for the price that I paid for it, came out pretty good. Hangs over just a little bit, so I can fit on some bigger tires so I won't rub. Came out real good. Now all I gotta do is just get it painted. Here's this side. Not too bad, right? I could probably fit maybe a 235, 245 maybe. Maybe even 255, I'm not even sure. And I still gotta put those side skirts on. Really difficult getting PCI side skirts here because they're too long. I don't even want to put this OEM side skirts on anymore. I just want to put on PCI side skirts, but getting them here is super difficult, or you got to pay a lot of money. So we'll see how I handle that. But for the time being, I just leave the car just like this. So I gotta start making videos again, and yeah, I guess I'll just see you guys in the next one. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to mention to you guys that I did. So if you look at the front bumper, I added a little bumper vent. Now it doesn't go anywhere, but because this is K-swap now, the intake sits somewhere in this area, so I'm going to get a tube that kind of goes straight up so I can get maybe a little bit colder air inside. I tried putting the filter down below here, somewhere right around that tow hook, and I'll put some pictures up right now. And then I tried to create a box. That didn't work. It kept the temps really cool, but what I found out is that the intake, because it was like a 45-degree bend going straight down, it was in front of the radiator and it was heating up the silicone pipe, and then it would reach temperatures up to like about 140 degrees, and here it's like 85 to like 90 degrees outside. So I had to delete that and I had to make a new design, and the design I made this time was just going straight to the right side of the passenger side of the car, and I realized that the temps were much better for the intake, and when I turned the radiator fan on, it would shoot the temps up with the old intake style that I had, and with the new intake style that I have, when I turn the radiator fan on, nothing happens. So I'm pretty sure it'll be fine in that location for now.